This episode of the Clark Howard Podcast is supported by Intel. Not that you would push your computer to new limits, but you could with the 8th Gen Intel Core processor with Intel Optane memory. And when I say push, I'm not just talking about opening Photoshop. I'm talking about opening Photoshop and Illustrator and, well, every application on your computer at the same time, just for fun. New computers powered by the 8th Gen Intel Core processor with Intel Optane memory are now faster and more responsive, which means you can open, load, and launch like never before. Learn more at intel.com/youcould.
It's great to have you here on the Clark Howard Show, where it's all about you and that wallet of yours. I want you to learn ideas to me so that you can save more and spend less, and don't let anyone ever rip you off. And you can follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. Coming up in today's Clarkrageous Moment, yet another retailer finds itself in a negative spotlight, ripping customers off on extended service contracts, extended warranties on items they're buying there. I need to tell you what the scoop is on that, when you should and should not consider buying an extended warranty or an extended service contract. And later, there's an amazing deal out there on cell phone service, even for someone not on a family plan. So often, the good deals on cell phone service only apply to family groups, typically of 4 or more people, but the industry is starting to break away from that with decent plans for 1 or 2 people. It is a trend that is your friend if you are not part of a family group. So I want to talk right now about something that was very important in my life, was central in my life growing up. And that was that I was able to attend graduate school for free because of an employer tuition reimbursement plan. And so the employer had some specific requirements of what courses of instruction I was allowed to take, but it was pretty wide on what was eligible, what things I was allowed to study and be eligible for free tuition. And one of the requirements was that in any course, I had to earn at least a B. So I had to pay the tuition. And if I got a B or an A, I then was reimbursed for that. The good news is I always got a B or an A. In fact, I was so frightened my first term in graduate school that I got an A, and an A minus, because I was too worried that I would end up in a position where I would not get tuition reimbursement. And then after that, I didn't work quite as hard at it, but never got less than a B and ended up getting my master's degree for free. Well, I was surprised to read that just as then, and even with the burden people face from student loans, that almost nobody takes advantage of the ability to get tuition free or tuition subsidized for college when an employer offers it. Wall Street Journal reported that roughly 9 out of 10 mid-size and large companies offer some form of college tuition reimbursement, but that just as when I got my master's back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, that almost nobody takes an employer up on the free tuition. It's in single digits, the percent of people, less than 10% take an employer up on it at all. And sometimes it's because you don't even know your employer offers a tuition reimbursement plan. And that's something that you should ask. And under the law, an employer can pay many thousands of dollars a year to you in tuition reimbursement, and it's tax-free to you. And the amount is $5,000 something each year that is, in fact, tax-free for you to receive. Now, if you go to a school that has pretty high tuition and your employer has a very generous tuition reimbursement plan and you blow past the $5,000 plus, then what happens is the amount past that, you're taxed on it as income to you, but you're still paying much, much, much less than you would normally to get a degree. The most recent company to bring forward a college degree program is Walmart, that announced they're going to offer subsidized college tuition to all its U.S. employees, which is something like 1.5 million people. And so they're going to offer degrees that fit their bailiwick. So it'll be things that are business-oriented kind of degrees that Walmart workers are going to be able to get tuition reimbursement. And so the employees will have to pay $1 a day towards the cost of their college tuition. I mean, that's a deal. And this is something that happens at so many places that you may already work at one of them, and maybe you're tired at the end of the day, and the last thing you want to think about is going somewhere to class or taking an online class or whatever the reason is that you've not taken advantage of it. I will tell you that in my case, getting the master's degree made a big difference for me in my life. And education's not everything, obviously, but in my case, it did make a meaningful difference. And David is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, David. How you doing?
Hey, Clark. I'm doing just great. Nice to talk to you.
And David, I'm excited to hear that you are on a path to pay off credit cards. Give me some background on that.
Well, I'm a half good and half bad. I didn't quite follow the Clark method all the way through this, but had some big legal bills from my daughter, and we got into a timeshare. Yeah. And so I figured out I've got pretty good credit, so I got some offers from banks at 0%. So I jumped on those things. Had to pay 3% to get on that train, but I figured it was worth it. And so I'm ready to. I got two of them getting ready to. One's going to be gone this month. I have $130 left on one and $700 left on another, and so that'll be gone in 2 months. So I'm sitting there going, all right, I got credit cards that I don't need anymore. I haven't used them, except for that balance transfer, and I'm ready to say thank you very much, but I don't want the credit cards anymore. And so I was worried about my credit rating and what that would do to it. And
it could be devastating to your credit rating.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not, do either of these cards have annual fees?
No.
Believe it or not, it's better to leave them open, even if you cut the cards up so you won't be tempted to use them, but to leave the accounts established and open. Okay. Because what accounts for nearly a third of your credit score is how much of your available credit you're using. So if you were to close the accounts, it can lower your score depending on what your overall total amount of available credit is. You could lower your score by 50, 80 points, even more, simply by closing accounts. So it's very much to your advantage to keep accounts open. And the one exception to that would be if you knew that if you had the credit available, you would use it. That would be the one time you sacrifice your credit score and close those accounts. But otherwise,
I haven't been tempted. Yeah, okay.
You are tempted?
No, I say I wasn't. I just, when I got the balance transfer, I put the cards in a drawer and then look at them again. I just, So do the same thing with these, with any card you have, and keep that credit utilization extra low. Have you checked to see what your credit score is these days? Yeah, it's a 730, 740, something like that. That's great. You're in really good territory now. And have you set up monitoring with any of the monitoring things like Credit Sesame, Credit Karma, Credit, any of those? I have not done that, no. And I've never frozen any of my accounts like I hear you talk about a lot.
All right, so before you would freeze anything, I'd like you to set up a dashboard with a couple of those free services, and you're able to see an approximation of your scores, and they'll also walk you through the things that could raise your scores up from the 730, 740 category. You're already in a great position, but if you can push them up even more as you paid off these debts, that would be to your advantage.
Say one of those names of those companies you just mentioned.
Okay, Credit Karma.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Credit Sesame.
Okay.
And Credit. All three of them offer versions where you're able to monitor your credit score and your credit for free.
All right. Well, super. All right. Well, then I'll just leave my cards sitting in the drawer. Like I say, I haven't touched them since I got the balance transfer. I realized what I was doing, I think.
And by the way, late summer, you'll have no excuse to not